gather round your town when things are on the up or things are falling down. Celebrate the hard times, stay passionate through the lows, find strength in the chaos, no matter which way it goes. It's not easy being blue. Heartbreak comes in many ways, the hardest times, the darkest days, but all these things get washed away with us, with us. The highs might not come every day, but memories do, and memories stay. Enjoy that moment anyway with us, with us, with us. It's not easy being blue. It's not easy being blue.
Evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Monday/Tuesday assessment with our impromptu show. This evening, after 79 days in charge, John Coleman has left the football club with Jimmy Bell, and we now have a new man at the helm. The circus continues, so I will bring in the panel this evening. We have Warren and Tom. How are we, lads?
Evening, Chris.
Evening.
How are we?
Pretty quiet day, innit?
Oh, yeah, it's been a really quiet day on social media. Couldn't ask for anything more. So, lads, we will just quickly touch on before we get into Coleman's results and fixtures. And Coleman's statement, Jimmy and I arrived at Gillingham at a difficult time, knowing we'd be here for a short time, but hoping we could turn around performances and work rate. We believe we achieved this, particularly in recent weeks. Whilst the results haven't reflected the performances given at the time, we are pleased to leave this team more stable and having improved both in attitude and application. We believe this has been vital in repairing the relationship between the team and the fans. We've really enjoyed working at Gillingham and wish everyone the very best moving forward. So, Tom, yeah, your overall thoughts on said statement, really?
I tell you what, I went back and forth with Coleman in terms of what I thought his duties were going to be. I thought for a short time that he might have been someone who was given this sort of short-term contract with a view to seeing how he does in the summer. But based on what he said there, knowing they'll be there a short time, it indicates that he was only expecting to be here until the end of the season, in which case he's not left in the best way because of obviously a lot of the results that have happened. But I think in some areas we have improved, in some we haven't. So ultimately, take it as it is. I don't think he was ever going to really be someone who was going to stay beyond the summer. I think the intention was always going to be bringing somebody with more of a long-term approach, which we've now done. Yeah, there were some bits of Coleman's short-term that were good, but ultimately not good enough, in my perspective. And yes, the squad that he inherited was basically on its arse. There's a lot of internal stuff that we don't know about, that we're only surmising that's going on behind the scenes with players and rifts behind the scenes that we don't really, have the full details on. Some areas have improved, but some haven't, and therefore I wish him well.
Yeah.
All we can do now is look forward.
I've literally just noticed Warren's tag, "Tears on my pillow." So, Warren, yeah, what are your thoughts on the statement as an overall there, mate?
Well, to be honest, I think John Coleman's been a complete gentleman since he's been at the football club. He's had a thankless task picking up from what Bonner left us back in January. For me, this managerial merry-go-round has got to stop somewhere. Whether it's now with Gareth Ainsworth, whether it was with John, and I wanted John to stay. I thought he was on the right track. I'd like to have seen him given a summer where he brought in players and got rid of players that he knew was the problem in the dressing room. I think he would have sorted it out. I think we'd have gone forward next year. I think we'd have played a better standard of football with the players that he wanted in. Unfortunately, what people have aligned to is that most of the players that he's left out on paper are our better players. People talk about top scorer Jaden Clark being left out. They talk about Bradley Dack being left out. They talk about Shadham being left out. But there's got to be a reason why you're left out. If you're that good a player, right, there's got to be a reason why you're being left out. And from someone with Coleman's experience of managing football clubs, he must have had his reasons. Now, I just don't get this constant avocado manager, and let's get rid of the manager when things ain't quite right. And I'm afraid that recruitment has got a lot to answer for, because this squad's been put together and it just looks like a whole hodgepodge of players just brought in willy-nilly. They've not looked like a squad that's been formed that are going to gel together. We're going to play a certain way, but we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Now, I know a lot of that's down to the first transfer window when we needed players and we had to sign people on good wages. And we've been stuck with them a little bit. But I just don't see anything from the recruitment. And we blame the manager. For me, the problems lie within the recruitment area. And then you can probably even look at upstairs. We look at in a bit of a shambles upstairs. 5 managers in 2 years. It just doesn't cut it for me.
No.
You only ever do well if you've got some continuity throughout the football club. And I'm sorry to see him go.
Right, okay. Yeah, I guess it's one of them where I don't know, it's anyone's guess what happened behind the scenes today. It was obviously the news broke on Sky Sports News, and then we didn't hear anything until 6 o'clock in the evening, 5 o'clock in the evening. But yeah, recruitment so soon in the show for me, I don't want to lose my head just yet. So we'll probably get onto that a little bit later on. So we will just quickly look at John Coleman's record, really, at Gillingham. So his first game was against Doncaster. We lost 1-0. We then drew to Tranmere 1-1. Grimsby was 1-1. We then lost 2-1 at home to Notts County and lost 3-0 to Barrow away, which then I think was the point, lads, where we kind of had an uptick in form to a degree. We then went away with Robbie's Rocket against Walsall, and then 0-0 at Crewe at home, 0-0 Carlisle away, and lost 2-1 on the Tuesday night to Fleetwood. We then beat Morecambe 1-0, which was his first win. And then we lost 3-1, which was a lovely, again, Tuesday evening. Hard pitch material again, Warren, but we won't go into detail with that one after the 20-minute rant that you and Mike had last night. We then had a great performance at home and beat Bradford 1-0. Then 1-0 to Accrington away with a last-minute gasp rocket from Max Clark, and 0-0 to Walsall. So we'll just quickly look at John's overview. So played 14, 1-2, lost 5, drew 7, scored 9, conceded 15, and a win percentage of 14. So, Warren, with all of that being said, do you think that there was probably a case where it was, we now know that we're not going to keep him till the end of the season, therefore it's best to get our man in now?
Yeah, it was either give John Coleman the job now or bring someone in now so that they can sort out the squad for the end of the season. I'm just looking at his record, Dan. I can only see 2 games there that we was absolute garbage in, and that was Newport and Barrow, which both performances reminded me of the team under Bonner. But the rest of them, I think we was a bit unlucky in a couple because we should have had some penalty shouts in a couple of them games, which would have changed the result. And when you look at that, if you compare that to from the 25th of January with Matt Sadler, who's Walsall manager, Coleman's record's even better. From 25th of January to today, Coleman's record's better. But I doubt whether Walsall are looking to sack Matt Sadler.
Yeah, but I think there's probably a difference there, isn't there, Tom, with regards to Matt Sadler? Like, Walsall was still top of the league, so he kind of gets a free pass in that respect, mate, doesn't he?
Yeah, obviously, I see Warren's point. I do in terms of if you're going to compare the records. I think obviously Matt Sadler got Walsall in such a good position early doors that their fall from grace has been so drastic because of how well they started. I think if you look at the facts and figures, it doesn't play well. If you look at what Warren said about the way we've played, it has been better. It has been more down to grafting. I don't think anybody was going to come in and turn this team around instantly. It was not going to happen, whether it's Coleman or somebody else. This team was on such a downward spiral that it would have taken a miracle worker to come in and uplift it straight away. Sort of like what Ainsworth tried to do at Shrewsbury as well, but we'll get onto that later. So yeah, I understand the factor of we have been playing somewhat better in most of those games, hence the results have been improving, especially the last sort of 5 or 6. But it's just a case of was it ever going to be a factor that he would stay, or would he have gone regardless of what happened in the next sort of few weeks? I think the latter. Hence, as you said, makes sense to make a move now.
Yeah,
but I do agree that the actual results on paper don't look great. Low win percentage, but this team was in the mire, and it's really hard to sort of say to someone else, even with John Coleman's record and longevity in the game, come in and sort that and go make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I alluded to it on a show a couple of weeks back before the Carlisle game, I think it was. And I said, if you've walked into a bomb site, then it's going to take time to pick up the pieces. But yeah, as you alluded to, Tom, I don't think that, if it was definitely set that he was going at the end of the season and the manager you want to come in is now available, then you're going to go for it regardless of the results. So he has got us playing better. We run around a bit more. We still can't score, but then that's been a Gillingham problem for season after season in the last 3 or 4 years. So it is what it is. So it was then announced, even though it was the worst kept secret in the world, at 6 o'clock tonight, officially, we now have a new manager in Rockstar, Gareth Ainsworth. So we'll quickly speak about his time at Wickham, at QPR, and at Shrewsbury. Before we do that, we are just going to have Phil's thoughts because we did miss him out of last night's show. So he's given us a quick one for this evening.
So here we go then, another new manager. And this one I'm very excited about. You've got to remember that when we had Neil Harris as manager, quite a number of fans who were very disappointed that we weren't playing exciting football. Then we had to wait for Stephen Clements to come in, and then the management decided, well, they wanted to go in a different direction. That's when we got Mark Bonner, and unfortunately that didn't work out either. We knew that John Coleman was only going to be with us for a short amount of time, and he's stabilised the ship, and that's great. But I think it's absolutely right, now that we're probably safe, that we bring in a new manager, and we've got an opportunity to work with the squad, see who we want to keep, and he can make the best of the summer transfer window. So really pleased about that. But also, Gareth Ainsworth, well, what can I say? I've met him a few times in my previous job that I had. I've interviewed him about his singing, of all things. So we've got that to look forward to. But he's a very passionate man. He did a really good job at Wickham. So I've got high hopes that he can replicate that form at Gillingham. We shall see. Up the Gills.
There we go then. So thanks again, Phil, for that. We quickly touch on his time, Gareth Ainsworth's time at Wickham to begin with. Played 598 games. Obviously, if this is slightly wrong, don't quote me. I've got it off of an app, so don't shoot the messenger. Played 598 games. He won 249, lost 207, drew 142. Win percentage of 39.82%. He also got 2 promotions, one from League 2 into League 1 and one from League 1 into the Championship. And I believe Akinfenwa played for him for quite a bit at that time as well, didn't he? So there's a Gillingham link straight away. So, that's fine. So, Warren, I'll go with you, mate. And your thoughts on Gareth Ainsworth as a whole?
I'm not convinced, but
No, really?
I'm not saying that he's the right man for the job, but I'm not saying he's the wrong man, because after all the appointments we've had in the last God knows how many years, right? Who knows what we're going to get? I don't think anything's a given. I think I'd like to ask you two a question, if I may.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way.
Okay. So, if Gareth Ainsworth comes in, or not when he's in, if we suddenly go on a horrendous run of results, which result in relegation, what would your opinions then be of his appointment?
Oh, Tom, I'll let you go with that one.
I don't know, because I'll be in the river, so I don't really know. Nah, listen,
Jumping off the Medway Bridge.
This seems very much like stop the trend of revolving door. We need to get it right and need to give him time, which I'm all for. If he does go on a run, like you say, where it's a complete shower, we need to be realistic. If our EFL status, as you're saying, is in jeopardy, say January, February time, then you need to look at it at that moment and go, right, what's the right thing to do? Ultimately, we need to get back into a situation where the manager is at fault, solely at fault. Because I know that Matt Booty said this earlier on and said it really, really well. We said, right now, we've got 4 or 5 different areas of the club that we can blame for our current plight.
Yeah.
That's not right. It should be a case of, right, if the manager's being given everything that he needs by those upstairs, the right players, the right funding, all that sort of thing, and he's not getting it right, it's down to him and him alone, or the coaching team, that aren't doing their jobs right. Right now, we've got some people blaming players, some people blaming recruitment, some manager, some director of football, some MD, some owners. That's not a right. So if Ainsworth is responsible for the poor results on the pitch, then yeah, he should be the one that is in the firing line.
Yeah.
Tom, that wasn't my question. My question was, if this season we've got 9 games left, we lost 8 and drew 1.
Oh, this season. I think next season. Sorry.
No,
right.
This season,
yeah.
And we suddenly get sucked in to a relegation spot. What would your thoughts be on this appointment then?
Irrelevant, because he needs to get rid in the summer. He needs a summer and a season and another window after that to really stamp down on whatever's going on.
I just think that he's a manager that's used to losing. Now it's just like players, right? Players get used to losing, and under Bonner we got used to losing, right? We was a complete shambles. I just think that sometimes is it the better the devil you know rather than the devil you don't, and so I'd like you to answer that one, Chris.
So I don't know. You can't really, like, 9 games to go. He's literally walking into a club that is in disarray. For me, it's there is only one area to blame. I do appreciate that you could say that there are 4 or 5, but for me, there is only one area to blame, and I'm pretty sure that I don't need to tell most of you or the listeners what that area is. But none of this squad is going to be his own for the last 9 games. I think we've got to the point where we're not mathematically safe, but we kind of are. So it's a perfect time for him to come in and really assess the squad that we've got, because it's all very well and good getting to the end of the season and a new manager coming in and assessing what he should and shouldn't keep. We made that mistake under Bonner, really, if you think about it, because has he really seen any of that squad play for the retaining and release list? Whereas we've got 9 games now where Gareth can actually sit there, see the live action on the field, experiment a little bit with players, and see what he wants for next season and what he feels that we need to sign. But then the caveat to that is 4, 5 managers now in the door in the last 2 or 3 years, or 2 years, and they can't all be wrong. Like, there is a common denominator here where these amount of managers cannot be wrong. And the fact that we've had 3 managers in the space of 9 months is absolutely laughable for any club. Like, we make Watford look like they're loyal to their manager. I just feel that we definitely need to take heed of maybe what he says as a manager to recruitment, get open heart surgery done on recruitment, because I don't think that the way that it is now is working. And it's all very well and good blowing smoke up our asses and saying, oh, but this is the new model we've got for next season. Well, I don't necessarily think that works anyway, because if you've got a manager that is in position, he should fall on his own sword. You don't have a manager come in, a manager that's worth his salt. I don't know what they're paying the managers, but if I was a manager of a football club and I'm walking in, it's like, right, okay, so we've got to do it this way. No, I'm sorry, but you're giving me this job to improve this team. I then want to be able to sign the players that I feel will improve this team. Otherwise, what is the point when things go hard, blaming me for the position we then find ourselves in, which is what has been happening for the last few years. I do not care what anyone says. Recruitment is the fundamental issue within this club. And until we get rid of Hess and until we actually employ a manager, no disrespect to Joe, but I don't feel like he's a managing director. I feel that he should drop back to, doing the commercial stuff, and we should get a football man in that's got business acumen that should run the football club, and we should have a proper manager as his scouts. The club have their scouts. They can then coerce about that and then go from there with it. So, yeah, that's my stance on it. And my stance on recruitment, boys. It's something that can be so simple within the club, but it just is made so difficult.
I do think as well, like, obviously we can all surmise what might happen. I do think that we are going to see some structural changes behind the scenes, because we can't, based on what Joe and Brad were saying about identity and moving forward and realizing that they haven't got a lot of it right, you can't just change a manager and hope that the rest will fall into place because of that. Exactly. The manager needs to have a structure above him that is clear and concise and knows, actually, I'm going to be responsible for X, Y, Z. You take the rest. So recruitment, he will work highly on, but I do think you're right about Joe. I do think that if an opportunity arose to go back to the more commercial marketing side of things, he would take it and leave the football stuff to the manager, his coaching staff, and someone else above him, whoever that may be. Yeah.
So we just got a comment. Fred's posted, but we'll ignore that one tonight because he loves it. So do you think that we have made the move for Ainsworth now before he signed a 2-year extension at Shrewsbury? So, yeah, for me, I know that the contract was on the table for him. I think that he feels potentially that he's been lied to a little bit and sold a vision that isn't going to come to fruition, and he'd probably jump ship now down a league because Shrewsbury are going down anyway, to then hopefully, and I say this with the backdrop that we've had 3 managers in 9 months, to then hopefully go to a club with a little bit more stability. So yeah, Tom, I'll go with you on that one as well. Do you think that we've signed him now before he signed the 2-year contract at Shrewsbury?
I'm not 100% sure on what the situation is, but I know that Shrewsbury fans have been talking about a takeover now for a while, happening at that club, and the chairman maybe hasn't lived up to the promises that he made about moving on, about that happening, and maybe therefore he sees us and them as a level playing field, and maybe sees us as the better offer. I don't know about his location. I know he's a northern boy, but I don't know where he lives. I don't know what his situation is there, but does he feel as though Gillingham is a more attractive league to offer than Shrewsbury? Because let's face it, they're going to be there with us next season anyway. He also, we have eventually kind of come around to the idea that we're going to pay for him and his assistant to come to us to break that release clause. So he sees a lot of intent there from us. Are we in a place where he's been given promises from Joe and Brad that supersede the ones that he's been given by Shrewsbury? In which case, has he been given a chance to go, you know what, I've got freedom to make my footballing decisions in the summer, to look at what is on paper a good squad and go, you know what, I can do what I want with this squad to an extent because I've got the budget behind me to go, you know what, I can add to it. I can say, sorry, you're not for me, and off you go. All of those things would have been a factor for him. He spent 9 years at Wickham as boss. He knows what longevity means. It's just whether he's been offered the chance to have complete carte blanche over this squad and go, you know what, I'm going to make my decisions based on what I can do. If you say that Shrewsbury have maybe let him down somewhat in terms of the takeover, he might think, well, I'm going to get out now before it gets worse. Who knows?
Yeah.
We won't know until we start to see that from him.
Well, that's it, Warren. And I think I'll pose the same question to you that Malcolm asked. And thank you, Malcolm, for asking. If anyone has any other questions, we'll probably be on for another 10, 15 minutes. So, yeah, get them into us. But I'll go with you as well, mate. Do you think that he's been given them assurances by us? Because, Joe spoke about this new transfer model, and maybe that is a bit more inclusive for the manager rather than being like, there's the players, get on with it kind of thing. So, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think this time of the year there's a big merry-go-round in football with regards to managers, footballers. Since the Bosman ruling came in, I mean, you've got players talking to other clubs that are out of contract if other clubs want to speak to them. I think it could work out that Coleman's already sorted himself out at Tranmere. Gareth didn't fancy Shrewsbury. From what Phil said earlier on our group chat, he lives somewhere near Reading or in close proximity, so he would be living in the south. So a trip to Gillingham might be a lot easier for him than a trip to Shrewsbury every day to go training. Maybe nearer his family, not so much time away. And you've got all what's going on in the background at the Shrewsbury Football Club, which I hope they sort out pretty soon. He must have been given some assurances, right? Yeah. And he must have had some insight before signing for Gillingham what the problems were at the football club. He must know, because I can't think of anyone that would come to us after being offered a 2-year contract elsewhere for the same division. I don't see why he would come to us unless he's been given those sort of assurances and that sort of carte blanche.
Yeah. He's not exactly, he's not an experienced manager that's going to come in and not have certain either demands or assurances, is he? He's not going to sit there and just be like, oh, okay, I'll just go there. And I guess you could if the money was right, but I can't see us paying over the odds. But it's good. I mean, I think, Tom, you mentioned it earlier when you said about us. It's good that we're actually going for our man for a change rather than just seeing what's left at the end of the season kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so. And obviously, it based on the statement earlier from the Shrewsbury chairman, it seems as though we sort of beaten down the door a little bit and said, like, no, we're not going to take no for an answer. The sort of aggression that we saw, didn't we, during the first transfer window when we were just like, you know, paying off release fees and that sort of stuff. One thing I wanted to add about, there's been a lot of talk about his record since Wickham at QPR and Shrewsbury. Now, obviously, Gareth Ainsworth seems to be a certain style of manager where he you know, has his players playing a high pressing game, probably not always the prettiest stuff in the world. It worked with Wickham for the most part. Obviously, they went up, you know, twice in his time there. A lot of like last minute goals for Wickham where they kind of just didn't give up and kept on. You know, they really sort of good home record. I remember from that one as well. But QPR is a different ball game. It's a club that he loved from playing there. You're not going to get the same results in the Championship that you are in League One and League Two. It's a much different league altogether. And Shrewsbury, he came into a team that was bottom of the league. Again, like Coleman, you're not going to come in and turn it around instantly. If your club is in that much of the mire, like Shrewsbury were, they won a really, really bad run of form. He got some good results, but ultimately it was a similar situation. He was never going to come in and work miracles. So to talk about his records recently, points per game, I don't think it's that relevant. I think Gillingham is a whole different ball game. It's a whole different concept. He's got 9 games now, plus summer, plus the start of next season to really get his teeth into it. Who knows? I'm not going to be like, I like him as an individual, but I'm not going to say he's going to do this for us and that for us, because we just don't know. We thought Mark Bonner was going to be a breath of fresh air. We thought Clements was going to be a new direction, in a different style of football. We thought John Coleman would be the old school manager to come in and to steady the ship. None of that's really worked out the way that we thought. So I'm just going to give it a complete free pass until we see by probably the winter. We can't make any judgment call on whether this is a good appointment or not.
No, I mean, and we can also caveat that with the fact that, you know, you look at the likes of Harris, you look at the likes of Clements, you look at the likes of Bonner. There's a large majority of this squad that were there under all of them. So again, it could be a common denominator that it's the players. But then, like you said earlier, what Matt said, if it's just on one person, but at the moment we could say it's the players, we could say it's the manager, we could say it's recruitment, we could say it's Brad and Shannon, we could say that it's Joe Compot. Like, there's a multitude of things that we could say it is. But there are, 11, 12 players there that have now got 4 managers sacked. So it's kind of, yeah. For me, it's that. But then that also plays into recruitment, because if you didn't recruit those players in the first place, then it probably wouldn't happen. So, Warren, I've just got a quick question here from someone. Will he be able to change our woeful recruitment strategy?
He's got to, isn't he? If he's going to succeed, he's got to change it. And the thing I like about Ainsworth is his teams are always fit. He likes pace within the side, and he likes a few brick outhouses. So I would hope that he can sort the recruitment out so he can get the players in that he wants.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. I mean, all we can do is hope, gents. We can hope that something different happens. I mean, hopefully, I'm not holding out the hope on the recruitment strategy that was announced last week. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm totally against any kind of change in recruitment, because there's massive change needed. And if there is change and it works, then I'll 100% take my hat off to the change and finally, basically. I think have we got another one? No, we haven't. So, yeah, I think we're pretty much wrap up there, boys. To be honest, we've had our say on it. Unless either of you have got anything else to add to it this evening.
The last thing I was going to say, just don't. The best thing they can do now is don't promise anything. We as a fan base will understand if we take a couple of years to get ourselves sorted out, to get out of this mess and get on the forward upward trajectory, can't even say that word.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, do it. We'll take it. If it means that we're not going for a top 7 space that we've been promised because our squad's too good to be in this division, it's not. Let's face it, it's not. It hasn't been now for 3 years. We just want to enjoy football again, enjoy this team, enjoy this situation that we're in, and actually enjoy winning games of football, hopefully more comfortably.
Yeah.
We want to score goals. We want to have a little bit of fun. We want to see our team back, but that's going to take longer than just a few games for Gareth Ainsworth to see what's gone wrong. We need to really get this moving forwards at our own pace and not rush it and go, you know what, it's going to be worth it in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Luke said something earlier, and he was like, the club just needs to come out and give us like a long-term plan or vision. Instead of saying we want promotion, just give us a little bit of a more realistic thing. Like maybe it's going to take us, because he's got a 2-year contract. Maybe just say, you know, stability in the first season, then maybe we kick on towards the playoffs in the next. It then tempers the fans' expectation rather than us all going crazy and melting down on Facebook because we haven't got the sleeping giant kind of reaction that we were promised when they first come in, Warren. So, yeah, Warren, just touch on you, mate. Have you got anything else?
Yeah, I everyone knows from last night's pod that I wanted to keep Coleman, which is fine. But I am somebody that doesn't really look back at yesterday. I only look forward to tomorrow. And I would just like every Gillingham fan to get behind Ainsworth, and hopefully he can succeed where others have failed, and we can move onwards and upwards rather than keep looking back on the past.
Yeah. So I do have one more question that I would like to ask you both that Les has sent in for us. So thank you, Les. So do you think that Gareth Ainsworth will bring back some of the out of favour players for Saturday? So, yeah, Warren, I'll go with you on that one. So the likes of Bradley Dack, the likes of my best friend, Jack Nolan, and the likes of Jaden Clark. So time will tell. But, yeah, Warren.
I think he will go with basically what Coleman went with last Saturday, and then it will use between now and not this Saturday, but the next home game, right? I think he will use that time to assess the squad during training, assess the attitudes, assess what he's got, play a couple of 11-a-side games, and decide from there what his team will be. I can't see many changes for this Saturday, but I can see changes in the next day after.
Yeah. Yeah, and Tom, any kind of opinion on that question?
Yeah, I think he won't want to get too caught up in whatever's gone on behind the scenes with the players. He'll speak to the players individually, all the players, and get to know them a little bit and know what they're about. Ultimately, we're playing Harrogate away. It's not about Coleman or about him. It's about Harrogate away, and ultimately he'll do what he thinks is right to win that game. I don't think he'll be too focused about what else is going on behind the scenes. Go in, get a result out of that game, and as Warren says, you've got a little while and then until we play at home to have a bit more time with your squad. But I don't think it's a case of he'll bring back the exiled players. I think he'll just play what he thinks is going to do a good job up there. You know, it's still an important game for both sides. So
yeah, fair enough, boys. So we will leave it there. I mean, it's an impromptu show tonight. I'm sure we've all been at work all day or days off, what have you. So, so we will be back next Monday now. We're not going to do another show tomorrow. We don't want to bore you that much. We will be back next Monday to review the Harrogate game. Line up to be confirmed, really. So, yeah. So I've been Chris. He's been Warren. He's been Tom. Good night and up the Gills.